Peace is often spoken of as a prize for soldiers, diplomats, or ceasefires, but peace also begins earlier. Before rockets, before protests, before hearts harden and institutions erode. Conflict prevention is that early step, the act of building systems, relationships, and institutions that stop instability from spiraling into violence. Around the world, conflicts are rising, in number, in complexity, and in speed. According to the PRIO paper, Conflict Trends, A Global Overview, 1946-2024, there were 61 active state-based conflicts in 2024 across 36 countries, the highest since 1946. Non-state conflict actors are numerous and diffuse, especially in Africa, while violence affecting civilians, often by non-state actors, continues to increase. At the same time, governments and donors are cutting back. Aid budgets are shrinking, and many conflict prevention programs are being squeezed. Chatham House points out that because of tighter budgets, we must choose which interventions to prioritize. The classic tools, mediation, border management, resource sharing, governance reform, institutional strengthening, multi-stakeholder processes, information and communication technologies, all have value, but their effectiveness depends on context. 3 major trends are reshaping conflict and prevention. 1. Climate change, shifts in rainfall, rising droughts, extreme weather, melting glaciers, rising sea levels. All add stress to communities, especially in places already fragile. UNEP, UNDP studies show that up to 40% of intrastate conflicts in the past 6 decades have been linked in some way to natural resources. 2. Geopoliticization of conflict. International rivalries, competition for influence, proxy conflicts between larger powers. Borders aren't just lines, they are zones of tension. Intervention, foreign backing of armed groups, arms flows, all complicate prevention. Chatham House's case studies from regions like Jammu and Kashmir and the India-Pakistan border and in Africa show that when external actors engage, internal prevention becomes harder. 3. Technological change, communication tech, information spread, social media, misinformation, also new weapons. Technology can help prevention, early warnings, remote monitoring, border surveillance, but it also enables new risks, cyber, destabilizing content, low-cost weaponry. Given these pressures, which conflict prevention tools work best, and where are their limits? Mediation remains crucial. Where 2 parties can trust a neutral mediator, conflicts are more likely to be resolved before escalation. But trust in traditional mediators is eroding, especially when mediators are seen as biased or serving external interests. New mediators are emerging: regional organizations, faith groups, civil society. Training them is essential. Border management helps prevent cross-border raids, smuggling of arms or people, small incidents that can inflame larger conflicts. But simply building walls or hardening borders without addressing cross-border community ties or shared resources can also isolate populations and create new grievances. Resource management and cooperation can reduce conflicts over water, land, minerals. Shared resource projects, e.g., shared watersheds, joint irrigation, renewable energy grids, are promising. But climate change makes resources more volatile. Triggers like drought strain agreements. Interventions need built-in flexibility, monitoring, renegotiation. Governance and institutional reform, strengthening rule of law, transparency, inclusive politics are fundamental, but they take time. When these reforms are perceived externally imposed, or when local legitimacy is weak, pushback can derail prevention. Multi-stakeholder processes, including women, youth, minorities, help build ownership of peace. But they are slow, their benefits often only visible in long term. Under shrinking funding and short political cycles, these processes can be undervalued. Information and communication technologies, ICTs, can help early warning, conflict mapping, citizen reporting. But they can also amplify misinformation, polarization, divisive narratives. Platforms that reward engagement over truth can worsen tensions. Globally, some conflict prevention successes give hope. Nations in Latin America that invested in community policing, local mediation, and inclusive politics have seen reductions in violence. In East Africa, water-sharing agreements between pastoralists and agriculturalists, combined with climate-adaptive infrastructure, have prevented seasonal conflicts in some areas. The Pathways for Peace report, World Bank or UN, estimates that prevention is highly cost-effective. Violent conflict costs the world up to $13.6 trillion annually in lost GDP, displaced populations, destruction. Investing early in prevention could save billions. Yet, in many places, risk is accelerating faster than prevention capacity. In the Horn of Africa, droughts plus conflict have displaced millions. The combination of resource scarcity and political instability is a firestorm. In Ukraine and Gaza, state-based wars have caused huge civilian casualties, displacement, and infrastructure collapse, requiring massive international attention, but many preventive signals failed to be heeded early enough. When prevention fails, the consequences are measured in human lives, lost futures, destroyed ecosystems, shattered trust. But moral insight shows us that prevention is more than policy. It is ethical responsibility. The Quran reminds us in Surah Al-Ma'idah, chapter 5, verse 32, "Whoever saves one life, it is as though he had saved all mankind." Preventing conflict is precisely that, saving lives before they are lost, preserving communities before they are destroyed. Also, Surah Al-Hujurat, chapter 49, verse 13 says, "O mankind, indeed we have created you from male and female, and made you peoples and tribes that you may know one another. Indeed, the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you." This speaks to the need for inclusivity, for respecting diversity, for building relationships across lines of difference, something essential in prevention. Another key verse is Surah Ash-Shura, chapter 42, verse 38, which describes believers who respond to the call of their Lord, establish prayer, whose affair is mutual consultation, and who spend of what we have provided them. Mutual consultation, shura, is a foundation of inclusive governance, of bringing voices into prevention, women, youth, minorities. When decision-making is broad and consulted, legitimacy rises and prevention stands a better chance. Given the pressures and the data, what can governments, NGOs, civil society, and ordinary people do so? Conflict prevention is not merely nostalgic, but fit for tomorrow. Priority setting under constrained resources. Identify highest risk zones, conflicts likely to escalate, and invest in prevention early rather than waiting for crisis. Use predictive models and early warning tools, data from ACLED, Global Conflict Risk Index, etc., to guide choices. Integrate climate risk into prevention designs. Projects on water, land use, energy must build in climate sensitivity. Trigger clauses, shared monitoring, dual-use infrastructure for development plus conflict prevention. Strengthen local institutions and give them voice. Empower local actors, community leaders, marginalized groups. Prevention by outsiders, even with good intentions, often fails without local legitimacy. Balance short-term stabilization with long-term structural work. While we need to avert immediate violence, mediation, peacekeeping, crisis response, we must also invest in governance, justice, economic opportunity. Responsible use of technology. Use ICTs to monitor, to whistleblow, to share information. But guard against tech misuse, misinformation, polarization, cyber warfare. Promote media literacy, regulation of content platforms, transparency from tech firms. international cooperation, funding, and treaty frameworks, shared global norms, early warning systems, coordinated funding instruments. Even when budgets are tight, pooling resources, regional hubs, shared capacities can amplify prevention. Conflict prevention is under pressure, but it is more needed now than ever. The world is more interconnected, environments more fragile, technologies faster, inequalities sharper. The causes of conflict are multiplying. The cost of late action is skyrocketing. Yet prevention, though often invisible, remains one of the most powerful investments in peace, in humanity, and in future generations. The Quran in Surah Ar-Ra'd, chapter 13, verse 11, states, "Indeed, Allah will not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves." Prevention begins in hearts, recognizing injustice, compassion for suffering, willingness to act, and then in systems. If we accept prevention not as charity, but as duty, not as optional, but essential, if institutions and individuals alike choose early action over reactive force, then many future conflicts can be prevented. Let us hope for a world where conflicts decline not because wars end, but because they rarely begin.